Okay, I'm here with trial attorney Jennifer Schuster to talk a little bit more about this. Jennifer, let me ask you this. The defense is making some strong points here. So if you say that the shooting itself, he might have been justified, can you still find him guilty of manslaughter based upon the fact that he shouldn't have been there, that he shouldn't have approached the car, that all of his actions beforehand might not have been justified?
Sure, absolutely. The law on manslaughter is, did he act recklessly, or should he have known that he was acting recklessly? And I think all evidence points to the fact that he did act recklessly by not identifying himself as a police officer. Now, I know the defense, of course, is saying that he may have. There was a portion of that audio that was unintelligible, and they're suggesting that's when he said he was a police officer. But it sort of defies logic. If he just said, I'm a police officer, why would the victim then jump out of the car and point a gun at the guy's head? So, I think this points to a manslaughter case, a strong case of manslaughter.
And why would the victim say, huh? That's a big point, too. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll maybe see more of the defense, but maybe even the prosecution's rebuttal closing argument. So stay tuned here on Law and Crime. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. So we're listening to the defense's closing argument. I'm back here with Vincent Hill. Vincent, again, making a very strong point here about this, the shots that were fired and when he was still a threat.
Yeah, he's making a very strong point. I think he's actually doing better than the prosecution. The prosecution went in with theories about maybe the gun was planted. We don't know that. But the defense is saying, hey, at the end of the day, Corey Jones was armed. My defendant, my client, was a police officer who was in fear of his life, and he responded accordingly to that deadly force.
And Jennifer, we have about 30 seconds. Let me ask you, what is the prosecution going to need to do in the rebuttal to combat what the defense is doing?
I think the prosecution needs to say that there wasn't a reasonable threat. It wasn't reasonable for this officer to believe that. And at the outset, he acted in a way that was reckless. From the moment he drove up to this stranded motorist, he acted recklessly by not identifying himself as a police officer.
And I'll tell you one thing, whatever side people have on this case, I'll tell you, listening to the arguments from both sides, it's not an easy question to answer, and it's not going to be easy for the jury, I'll tell you that much. Now, I do want to let you know about one other thing that's happening here on the network. At around 12:30 today, we are going to have a special covering R. Kelly's interview with Gayle King on CBS. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but the R&B superstar, who has been charged with 10 criminal counts of sexual abuse, had an opportunity to speak out about these allegations, about the last 25 years of allegations against him, and that interview that he did with Gayle King was explosive. So we're going to have some special coverage about the R. Kelly investigation at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, it'll all be about Nouman Raja. We'll be back. Okay, let's break down the law right now. I'm back here with Jennifer Schuster. Jennifer, he's talking about the different elements here because, again, Nouman Raja could be found guilty of manslaughter with a firearm, or manslaughter, or culpable negligence, attempted first-degree murder, or attempted second-degree murder, or aggravated assault with a firearm, or assault. So the jury has a lot of options here. Is he describing this accurately?
I think he's describing it accurately. I don't know if he's really doing it thoroughly. I think it would be helpful here, especially for the jurors, to have some charts, some sort of definitions written out for them. Of course, they have the jury instructions, so maybe this counsel thought that would be duplicative. I think he's doing a nice job, though, of laying out a case of manslaughter. He said, would this defendant reasonably know that his actions would result in death or bodily harm? And I think all the evidence points to yes, given the fact that this officer approached the stranded motorist and didn't say he was a police officer.
But the idea, real quick, that he said, hey, how would he have known that Jones had a weapon? What do you say to that argument?
Well, it doesn't really matter, because regardless of what happened in the moment of those kill shots, at the outset, this officer approached this man, didn't identify him as a police officer, was in an unmarked white van, was in plain clothes, and that alone was reckless.
And maybe that's what the jury will ultimately decide, but it's not quite there yet. Now, before we take our next break, I do want to let all of our viewers know that at 12:30 p.m. today, we are going to have special coverage regarding the R. Kelly investigation. He just provided an interview to Gayle King of CBS News, and my gosh, was that explosive, denying the allegations levied against him over the past 25 years, including the 10 criminal counts of sexual abuse he currently faces. So again, that's 12:30 p.m. We'll have special coverage on that case. Right now, let's take take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be back live in Raja. Okay, so the defense attorney is explaining reasonable doubts, but Jennifer, are these reasonable doubts? Are these enough doubts to acquit? What do you think?
I don't think there's reasonable doubt when it comes to manslaughter, possibly when it comes to attempted first-degree murder. I don't think there's a doubt at all, a reasonable doubt, that this officer acted in a way that was reckless. He knew, or he reasonably should have known, that what he was doing would result in death or bodily harm.
And you see the defense attorney kind of parsing those two counts out. Vincent, I want to ask you the final question. What do you want viewers to keep in mind? Obviously, you've been following this trial for quite some time. What do you want them to keep in mind as we come to the conclusion of this case?
Jesse, I say this all the time. In policing, everything happens at the speed of light. Split-second decisions. That's what it comes down to in the life of a police officer. But did Nouman Raja identify himself as a police officer? Did Corey Jones know that fact when it happened?
Vincent Hill, thanks so much for coming on and giving your insight. Jennifer, stick around. And everybody here, I want to let you know at 12:30 today, we're going to have special coverage regarding the R. Kelly investigation. This is in light of his recent interview with CBS News' Gayle King. If you haven't seen it, it was explosive, and he denied the allegations levied against him, including these 10 new criminal counts of sexual abuse. So again, that's at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll tell you who's going to be coming in to cover that and the rest of this trial. Bob Bianchi. I am signing off. Everybody stay tuned here on Law and Crime. We have a very busy day, and we'll be right back right after this.